Okay, so welcome to episode 12 of our one bedroom house. And we have come a far way, and today we're going to just move a little bit further into this project. All right, so stick around. So I want to say thanks to those of you who have been following all my videos. Thanks to all my subscribers. I really appreciate the support. And if it's your first time on the channel, thank you for joining. And I hope that you like what you're seeing, and if you do, just, consider subscribing as well. Consider hitting that like button, turn on the notification. And guess what? That's it. Just drop a comment below and ask your questions. Just ask a question and don't say a word. Big up yourself. Here's it. All right, so let's talk about views. All right. Now, views are very important as they are needed to create working drawings. And if you don't know what working drawings are, it's the same thing as blueprint. So, the blueprinting, it's the same one. And we all know that the blueprint is what we use to construct the building. Without the blueprint, you cannot construct the building. So it is in the same way. Without the views, we cannot have the blueprint. So we need to create our views. And views are easy to understand. It's really looking at the object from different angles. So we want to look at the side, we want to look at the top, the front, the back, we want to look at the inside. We want to have various views to represent as much detail as possible, so that when they are ready to build the structure, they would have enough information. All right, so in this video today, we're going to be creating these views. Let's see where it goes from there. You know what I mean? Let's get it. So we have completed our drawing. We did our fixtures, foundation. We should have a drainage construct and columns or stiffeners. We would want to create those two as well, which I will be doing in the near future. But I want to go ahead and show you how to create views so you can start working on those. All right. So under your views tab, you want to make sure that you organize your views properly, because you don't want to get them all mixed up and become confused over time. All right, so in here we have the ability to create more folders and to structure everything. So I'm going to be putting all our views in 3 different categories or folders, which would be architecture, details, and sections and elevations. All right. So as you can see on the left side of the screen, that's how we're going to lay out our views. And also when we go to sheets, we're going to kind of do the same thing. So let's go ahead and we're going to create some folders. All right, so by clicking on new category, that's how we do it. So I'm going to call this one architecture. Right click on views again and say category. Call this one section and elevations. I'm putting all sections and elevations within this folder, and then I'm going to create another one and call this details. I'm going to drop all the details in this folder. And of course, you can create as many. You can break them out. For some persons, they would want to put different trades in different folders. So you would have an electrical folder, you would have a plumbing, HVAC, so on and so forth for a large project. But for this tiny little building, I'm going to just drop all the electrical and plumbing, drainage and everything inside of that. I'm going to drop our sections here and our details here. So now that we have all 3 categories, what I'm going to do is to create some views within our architectural folder. So let's go ahead and right click on this, and we're going to say new drawing now. We could break architectural down into more categories by creating more subfolders, but we're not going to do that. We're going to just go straight into the drawings, and we're going to create a general drawing. And the first one we're going to do is called the 3D view. That's usually the first view you want to create, so that you can see what the building looks like in 3D. So we click on the next, and of course we want to include both levels. We want to see everything. And we hit next, and we also want to see all of these constructs, and then we're going to hit finish. So as you can see, that drawing or view has been created inside of our architectural folder. So let's go ahead and open that up, and right down here we can see that we have this view. And if we should rotate it in 3-dimensional, you can see that it now has everything inside of it. All right. So what is happening here is that we pulled all of our constructs into one drawing, into a view, so that we can see them all together. So let's go over to our external reference panel. Now, if you're not seeing this, just type the command xref and that should bring it up. And now you can see all 3 constructs being displayed here. So if I should click on fixtures, you can see the fixtures being highlighted there. If I click on foundation, you can see that the foundation is being highlighted there, and also the ground floor. And we could add more and more. All right. Later on, we will be adding the property boundary or the site plan to this view as well. All right. So go around and play with it. Let's take a nicer look at it and see what we have. So you can see that the foundation has been added. The fixtures are inside. Everything is where it is supposed to be. All right. So I'm going to leave that right there and I'm going to hit the save button. So we have our 3D view, and now we're going to go ahead and create our other views. So the next view that we're going to create underneath the architectural folder is another general one. And we're going to call this one site plan. And we're going to hit next. And of course, we only want to see the ground floor inside of this one. And we do not want to see fixtures. So I'm going to uncheck that and I'm going to say finish. So I'm going to just go ahead and create all the views. And then in the next video, we will start to detail each view one by one. So again, we're going to go ahead and create a new drawing, general. We're going to call this one floor plan. Next, we only want to see the ground floor. Next, we want to see both fixtures and the ground floor. So finish. We have that view being created. And you just keep going, create all the views that you want to see. So let's do foundation plan. Now, of course, this time we do not want to see the ground floor. We only want to see the foundation. All right, so we go ahead and we select that. We hit next. This is the only construct for foundation. We'll go ahead and we select and we say next. That has been created. And of course, we're going to keep going. This time we need a roof framing plan. And we're going to hit next. Of course, guys, you can add a description if you want. We're going to hit next. We only want to see the ground floor. Next. Do we want to see fixtures? No. Finish. That's a roof framing plan. We're going to create a new drawing and we're going to call this drainage and electrical. All right, so usually we do drainage and electrical on one drawing in Jamaica, except if it is a very big house or a large building. We just throw it all on one drawing because especially for something this small, it's not going to be significant. So we're going to hit next. And of course, we want to see the ground floor here. We're going to hit next. We want to see both fixtures and ground floor. And so that's about all the plans and views that we want underneath our architectural folder. So that's that. I'm going to now create some sectional views. In order to create the sectional views, I'm going to actually open up my floor plan. All right. So the floor plan is where I want to see the arrows and everything. So in the floor plan here, I want to have the elevation arrows pointing in towards the building, and I also want to have the sectional cutting planes showing on this drawing. So that is why we open up this drawing here to create our sectional views. So I'm going to minimize that. And the first thing you want to do is to change your scale to 1/4 inch. And 1/4 inch is the same as 1 in 50 if you're doing millimeters. So you want to make sure that you change the scale because now we are going to be adding annotative objects. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video that explains this very well. So go ahead and watch that video. So when you're adding annotation objects, you want to make sure that you set your scale so that they will appear at the correct size. All right. You don't want it to be too big and you don't want it to be too small. We want it to be perfect. All right. After we've done that, what we're going to do is to go ahead and go over to our annotate tab and we're going to go across to callouts. All right, so underneath here, we see something called elevations. All right, so we're going to select our elevation drop down, and you can see that we have various types of elevation here. All right, you have the interior ones, and we also have the exterior one, and we also have the single elevation ones. All right, most times, or for some persons, if you're not seeing the 4-arrow one, you would have to use the single one. But with the 4-arrow one, it makes life very easy. So what you do is to click on it like that, and then we would now just draw a box around this building. And you want to kind of make it look at least a little bit equal on all sides, so that all the arrows can be somewhat the same distance away from the building. So something look like that, and we're going to click. And so we have this little box popping up now, and we need to do something here. So we can rename our elevations instead of calling them north, south, east, and west. For north, it would be the back, because that would be on this side. For the east would be the right, south would be front elevation, and west would be the left elevation. All right, the next thing we want to do is to change the scale to 1 1/4, because we want these elevations to be on this scale. The same thing as 1 50, the same thing that we chose for this drawing. All right, so then now we have the option to say, do we want to add these to a new drawing, or in an existing drawing, or in this current drawing that we're now in? We're going to be placing these elevations in a new drawing. So go ahead and click on new drawing, and we're going to name this drawing elevations. And then we're going to change the category, which is the folder, and we want this to fall in this folder here that we created earlier. All right, so just like that, we're going to hit next, and we want to include both levels next, and we want to see everything. All right, all our constructs. Finish. After you hit finish, we need to place the drawing somewhere. Do you want to place it on this side of the building, below the building, over on that side? I'm going to be placing it somewhere here. So let's click our first point. And then we need to decide how far apart we want each elevation to be from each other. Because, you have to space them out so that you have enough space to add your dimensions, your labels, and all of that. So you need to draw a space. It's not, you don't need to specify, just, determine or judge or guess as a space. So I'm going to just, probably use that amount of space. And as you can see, it is being generated. Now, you're not going to see it in this drawing because it was created in a new drawing underneath our sections folder. So if I click this drop down, we see our new drawing. And if I click this drop down, we see our elevation views. All right, before I get into these, I want to show you now that we now have our arrows here. And this will appear on our floor plan view when we drop it on the sheet. That is why we do it in this drawing. All right. So what I'm going to do now is to open up the elevation drawing so you can see what the elevation looks like. So here we have the back, we have the right, the left, and where's the front? Oh, this would be the front. And it looks crowdy with the blocks and all of that, but no worry, we're going to fix that. And also we are seeing the foundation, which we should not be seeing, but don't worry, we're going to fix it. That's that. I'm going to X this off, and you don't have to say yes. It's going to always be there. What we're going to do now is to create some sectional views, and we want to do it on the floor plan view as well. All right. So remember now we are inside of our floor plan view. I don't want you to confuse this floor plan with our construct. Okay, construct is called the ground floor. So good. Two different names. So our floor plan is where we're adding these markers here. So let's go up back to callouts, and we're going to go to sections. And as you can see, we have various options. This one is the one that we're going to use. So we're going to select it with the 2 arrows. And when we're doing section, guys, it is important that you cut through the kitchen and the bathroom. You have to cut through the kitchen and the bathroom. It is a requirement by the municipal cooperation. So you have to cut through both areas, and you must have at least 2 sectional views. Okay, so one is not going to do it. You need to cut this way and you need to cut this way. For larger buildings, they will request more. Okay, so, but the minimum is 2. So we're going to create one running across this building, cutting right through here, both kitchen and the bathroom, looking towards the back. And then the second one will be cutting through the kitchen, looking towards the left. So let's do the first one. So we're going to start somewhere about here. And as you can see, my line is not a guaranteed straight line if I do it like this. So I need to turn on the ortho mode so that I can get a perfectly straight line. So I'm going to draw it all the way out close to the elevation arrow. Click, we hit enter, and then now we have the option to choose which direction do you want the arrows to point, up or down. In this case, we want it to point up, and we want to pull this box here all the way out like that. Because if we only pull it halfway like this, only what is inside of the box will show in the elevation view. So we need to pull it all the way back so that we can see everything in this direction. So let's click. And of course, this box comes back up. We need to name the section. I'm going to call it section A. And I'm going to create a new drawing. Of course, set your scale, and we're going to say new drawing. I'm going to call this sectional elevations. And we're going to drop it inside of the sections folder, just like we did with the elevations. All right. Hit next. And we want to see both levels. Next. And we want to see everything again. We want to see all of these. And we're going to hit finish. Again, after you hit finish, you need to place the drawing somewhere. So I'm going to be placing this one right here. So if I go to the navigator and we click our drop down, we can see that we have sectional elevations. And if we drop this down, we have our first section. So we're going to create our second one, which should be running pretty close to the stove right here. So let's click on that again, and we're going to draw one from, let's say, here. That's too close to the wall. I mean, it can be close to the wall, but what's going to happen is going to cut through the foundation below, and I don't want that. So I want to cut it like here, maybe here. Yeah, it's not too bad. All right, bring it down, click, hit enter, and now we decide which direction. I want to see everything in this direction, so I'm going to click there, and then of course this would be section B. Set my scale, and now we're going to be placing it in an existing drawing. We want to put it in the same drawing that we put our first section, so we're going to say existing, and we would go ahead and select our previous drawing. We hit OK, and this was section A. I'm going to place section B right beside it, right there. So now you can see that we have all our elevations and both our sections. So let's open up this drawing and see what it looks like. Good. So here we can see that we have both sections. All right, from here and here. We can see inside the building, and that's good. This is exactly what we want to see. All right. So I'm going to X this off. As a matter of fact, I'm going to remain in this drawing because the other views that I'm going to be creating will be coming from this particular drawing. So I want to do a detail of the foundation. All right. So we're moving on to details, and the first details I'm going to do is the foundation footing. So I want to create a call out bubble right here for this detail. So what we're going to do is to go back to call out, and we're going to go down to this drop down here where it says detail. All right, we can select circle, rectangle, or we can draw our own shape. But for this one, I'm going to use rectangle, and I'm going to just draw a rectangle right around this foundation footing, right like that. So you can see that it creates this call out bubble right here, and I'm going to drop the head right here, hit enter, and we're going to call this foundation footing detail. We're going to say, all right, we want it at a 1/2 inch scale. 1/2 inch scale is the regular scale for detail views. So of course we're going to leave it there. If you want it to be much bigger than 1/2 inch, you would go ahead and select maybe 3/4 or 1 inch or 1.5 inch. But 1/2 inch is good enough for this. We want to create a new drawing. All right. So create a new drawing, and we're going to call this details, and we're going to of course drop it in the details folder. We're going to hit next. We want to see both ground floor and foundation. We're going to hit next, and what I do not want to see here are the fixtures, so remove that, and we're going to hit finish. And then of course the last thing we need to do is to place the details where we want it. So I'm going to place it just below this view. Click it right there. All right. So that's our first detail. I'm going to do one for the eave, and I'm going to bring it all the way down so I can capture this area where the lintel is, and also the ring beam. So all of that will be captured within this one detail. So I'm going to do another one, call it that rectangle, and I'm going to capture everything from here all the way up to about here. So all right, I'm going to put the other bubble right here and hit enter. I'm going to call this eave, ring, or belt, beam, and lintel. I'm going to just add it all in one. You could actually break them apart if you want. That's fine. I'm going to say 1/2 inch, and this time I'm going to place it in an existing drawing. So we're going to say existing. It's not valid. All right, let's remove the commas. Existing drawing, and we want to place it in the detail view. All right, so we're going to say okay, and of course our first view was right here, but I'm going to place this one just beside it, maybe right there. And so we have 2 views so far. The last view I'm going to create is for the ridge detail, so let's go ahead and do one more of that. I'm going to draw it right here, and I'm going to put the bubble right there and hit enter, and I'm going to call this ridge detail, and I'm going to say 1/2 inch is good. I'm going to place it in an existing drawing, the details drawing. Okay, and then I'm going to be placing it right beside these 2, probably like right there. And you can go ahead and create as much detail as you want. So if you need to show these in some more details, if you had some like staircase or stairwell or whatever the case might be, you can add as many details as you would like. If there is a detail on here that you're not seeing and you want to represent it from the floor plan, what you would do is to use a sectional detail line. All right, so if I wanted to show, let's say I wanted to cut through this drain hole to show what's happening in that hole right there, I would use one of these cutting lines to show what's happening there. All right, so that's what you would do for views that you're not seeing from these sectional views. But I'm going to leave that right there. What I'm going to do now is to open up our details view. So here are the 3 details that we just created. So I'm going to just open up this drawing, and from here you can see that we have all of these 3 drawings showing up right here. So all that's left for us to do now is to go through and annotate everything. All right, so all our views have been created, including our elevations, our sections, our details, and all of our floor plans have been created. All right, guys, this is where I'm going to end the video, guys. So we have created our 3D view, which I actually will be dropping the site plan inside of this. We have our plan view, which has our callouts, well, our sectional planes and our elevation arrows. We have our sectional views with detail callouts, and we also have our details over here. Alright guys, so thank you for joining me. I hope that you learned something. If you have any questions at all, just feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them. Alright, so see you in the next video. Promise. Alright, big up yourself. Respect.